Call the meeting to order. And we will start with a roll call. McKee here, Lanterman.
Here.
Friedrich.
Here.
Varenkamp.
Here.
Nichols.
Also here.
Perfect. If you'd like to stand and join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. On to agenda approval. Looks like we had a couple minor changes or updates.
Yeah, no additional updates since yesterday, Mr. Mayor. So we added item 8B, we added item 6M, and we updated item 12A.
Okay. Any additional changes from council or staff?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Dear Mr. Mayor, Chair. Hi. If we could add 7B. Sounds like we've got residents that would like to have a conversation.
Yes. How about, can I?
You put it wherever you see fit.
Put it at, so you're talking about 6L.
Yes.
Moving that to, how about we move that
Oh,
to 7A?
can we just move it to 7A?
And then 7A becomes 7B.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Thank you for doing that.
So then we will, I think for consistent consent, we'll just keep the letters as is, so we'll skip over one.
Fair.
That works, we don't have to actually, we'd only have to redo one of them, but still. Okay, so can I get a motion to amend the agenda with
So
those
moved.
changes?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Perfect.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
I just have a question. So technically, I think we can just pull something off of the consent agenda to have a further discussion. We don't have to move it to a different item, and then can have a discussion after we approve the other consent calendar items. Just
Yeah, we could do it that way as well. I think my thought, and I don't know, Dean, this was your thought as well, maybe a little cleaner if we're going to have resident feedback, or resident or applicant or whoever speaking as opposed to just council speaking. If it was just council, I agree that consent agenda, just moving it up or pulling it on consent is probably easier.
Okay.
But either way, it
Okay.
probably works.
Just curious.
Yeah. Alrighty, on to open forum.
I have received no cards, Mr. Mayor, for the open forum.
Easy enough. Then we'll move on to consent agenda, which consists of items 6A through 6K and 6M. Does anyone want to pull anything? No?
I'll make a motion to approve those items.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
On to item 7A, which is the pulled item, or the moved item, originally consent item 6L, Rush Creek Reserve off-site stormwater improvements completion. And who's starting?
Kevin.
Sure, Mayor and Council. This is just really an update related to the off-site stormwater improvements that were a condition of the Rush Creek Reserve development north of City Park. For reference, there was a component that was tied to the development, and for the past 3 or 4 years we've been working with the developer on completing those improvements. And in engineering and staff's opinion that those have been completed, so we're updating you of the completion. We've had extensive conversation with the property owners to the north. I think they're going to speak here tonight, so I can let them comment on their opinion of it, but staff's opinion is the work associated with the contract has been completed by the developer.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Or Dean, did you have anything that you
No, the effort that's been put forth and what they've done, I agree with what you're saying. So, love to hear what else coming from the neighborhood.
Good. Well, the council doesn't have any other questions or anything here from Mrs. Lymangood?
Yep, so, Mr. Mayor, we have the one card from Ms. Karen Lymangood, and please come forward, state your name and your address for the record.
Karen Lymangood, 8105 County Road 116. And this is an issue with M&I that we've been struggling with for about 5 years. And because I'm a little nervous, I did type up my points that I'm going to be talking about. Just hand it to you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm concerned that MNI hasn't fulfilled their contractual obligations. I didn't really understand what was on the agenda, but I feared that you were gonna let them off the hook and say, you know, bye. You don't need to do anything here anymore. But, Rush Creek Reserves, the day that, the flooding, the June flood, all the lots of Rush Creek Reserves were dry, but our 5 properties were flooded. They got almost up to our knees where the private drive is. And then when I went over to look at Rush Creek Reserves, the holding pond was actually empty. The water is rushing through the culvert that Em and I put in into our drainage and bringing in silt and dead logs. And I believe it's not working like it's supposed to work, their water plan. Feels like we've been made a dumping creek for Rush Creek Reserves. That the new people have precedence over the old residents. Fear the flooding is gonna affect our property values because buyers won't want to pay full price for flooded property. To review this situation, about 5 weeks ago, I paid $70 for a data practice act, just so I could see the plan, study it, and understand it. And I haven't received it. And I, don't want any decisions to be made on this development until the property owners and I have a chance to look over that water discharge plan. As far as the points from the Rush Creek Reserve on, that the staff wrote up with these pictures, I have to disagree with them. We did have a meeting a few months ago, but this was all a surprise to me. I learned about it on Tuesday that this was on the agenda. And, someone just showed up on our property, took pictures. But I feel like it's not accurate pictures, doesn't really show what the situation is. So the developer really did not finish the erosion control that we talked about. And the barrier guardrails were dismissed by the staff, but we actually have 5 children in the neighborhood and grandchildren. But basically, council and staff came out to our property and without notice and took pictures and said, everything's fine, issue closed. But it's not, because the water from Rush Creek Reserves doesn't flow to the creek. And that was the issue that we've had for 5 years, is they're not taking the water flow to the Rush Creek. They're just dumping it on our water. We discovered that the city knew that they had authority through the LGUA to authorize a permit to go to the river, to the creek, but feels like it was hidden from us. But maybe you can explain to me, I want the council to postpone any decisions to return the reserve money to M&I. I wonder, has that been done already? Or do they still have reserve money?
That's what this item is.
Yep.
What's that?
That's what this agenda item is.
Okay, and that's what I'm asking to vote against these items, because the real big problem is that the water is draining under our property. And I just feel like the old-time residents have been dismissed in favor of M&I. And we've been working with it for 5 years, and I just ask you not to approve that, to leave it open, at least until we can look over the water plan and understand it more thoroughly. And I'm waiting for the documents on that through the Data Practices Act.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Couple quick questions, then I'll open up to council if they have any. Timing-wise, in terms of procedure for this, is there a clock that we have to get this item approved by, or
There's no official clock. I
Okay.
mean,
obviously they're,
Historically, we've
yeah.
been trying to close out projects
Yep.
that are lagging on, and some of the previous conversations this summer were to get them moving to close out the project.
Yep.
There's no official clock.
not like a 60-day.
Typically, this type of project is just administratively reduced, but we wanted to bring forward it to you to be transparent. But there's no official clock, and when we release it, it's subject to us deeming the work complete.
Gotcha. Good to know, thank you. In terms of getting, you said, Karen, that you did a request for the plan, a specific set of plans?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. I think that plan might be in the packet.
Well, to be fair, there is an active ongoing data request submitted that we haven't fulfilled.
Okay.
Her request is, this is going back 5, 6, 7 years, so
Gotcha.
in an effort to be transparent and get all the data, it takes a little bit longer.
Gotcha.
So to be fair, she does have an open data request that we will fulfill. It just takes longer to be done, and we want
Gotcha.
to make sure that we've checked all the areas and provide all the data to her. So part of the plans, like the plans in the packet, is a good part of what the improvements was pre-project, and it tells a simplified story of a complex situation. But we will follow through
With the full set.
with the full data request.
And this is also something that when we've met on site, we provided hard copies. At one of those meetings, Councilmember Nichols was with us, and we provided hard copies to everybody who was present. And so the information in terms of how this was designed, what it's expected to do, to Ms. Lyman's point, it's been discussed a lot, particularly in the last year for me. I've been involved in numerous discussions. At the heart of it is there's a disagreement in terms of what the expectations are and what M&I's obligation is. That's how I would articulate it. The property owners feel like M&I has a greater responsibility than they are contractually obligated to do. They've fulfilled their contractual obligations, much to the disappointment of the property owners. The property owners have some expectations that exceed what we are legally able to hold M&I to, and what they are legally obligated to by the agreement. Some of the disagreement is when water flows off. And so Ms. Lyman-Good did send you all some videos and some pictures after what was the largest storm event in Corcoran this summer. She had some drone footage that she sent videos of you. I just want to acknowledge that, and you've seen that. I went out 3 other times. At that particular event, it's important to note that storm shut down 3 roads in Corcoran. So this was an unprecedented storm. And then I went back a few days later, and I sent you photos of that the water had subsided. But at the time, immediately following the storm, we had numerous places, to include right here at City Hall, with the creek right behind us. So that was an unprecedented storm. I've sent you photos from other events, like a July event, one that happened in June, going the day after, like I sent you photos on July 28th, because I was concerned. I wanted to make sure that this is functioning the way that it's supposed to. And in less than 24 hours after the July 27th storm, there was no evidence of collecting water there. And so that's why staff is saying, I am not a hydrologist. We have professionals that we pay for that expertise. They say it's supposed to function this way. I'm a person that can see standing water. And when I go there and I don't see standing water, that communicates to me that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. But there are instances in which the water might collect immediately and then it flows through. That's part of living in a wetland area. In their case, they live in a floodplain. Both of those properties, if you look at historic footage, have flooded not because M&I moved there, because it's a floodplain. And that's a reality. M&I has significantly invested a lot of money, and if you look at photos, improved the existing conditions dramatically, but not to the degree that the property owners would like to see it improved. And so what staff is saying, the city doesn't have a position anymore because contractually they've fulfilled their obligation, and it is working to the standards that they are supposed to deliver on. And that is not what the property owners want to see happen.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can I ask a question? I guess I would like to understand, when discussions originally started, was the discussion at the start of your discussions different than where it's ended?
Yes,
Okay, so that would be one question I'd have, and then I'd also wonder, like, I know that out on Bechtold Road, we have sort of a deeper culvert, because a little stream runs through there. And we do have guardrails up along that little culvert, and that's much smaller than the one at this location, so I'm wondering why we wouldn't put some sort of guardrail up at this one too, especially since it's a dirt road, and dirt roads tend to get kind of slippery in the winter. And I just feel like that would not be a good place to go off the road, because it would cause damage to the culvert for one, and it just seems like sort of dangerous if we do get some flow through there.
That's an excellent point, I really appreciate that, and I'd like to see this Bechtold Road guardrail that you're talking about.
It's not a substantial one, it's very small, but the fact that we have one there and wouldn't put one here, I'm
Well,
questioning
is
that.
that
The
'cause it's a
difference
city
to that, that's a city road and this is
versus
a
a
private driveway, right?
Okay.
We looked at it under the lens, it's in the memo, so you look at speed, geometry, conditions, so it doesn't meet the warrants for guardrail, so guardrail can also cause problems if you put it in incorrect spots as well from a public safety standpoint, or if someone's driving and they hit it, it can also be counterproductive. So there's standards, much like a traffic signal would have standards and warrants, these have standards and warrants, and so we evaluated them under those premise. The other caveat I will say is we did change out the culverts and add more capacity under the road. The elevation of the road did not significantly change from pre-project to post-project. There was always a culvert there. So we didn't elevate the road. We didn't change the drop-off of the road to any significance. So
But
all
there's
those
more
things
flow
considered,
coming
the
through
engineering
there.
recommendation is to delineate it and not put the guardrail there. So
But
that's how
there's
it was
more-
evaluated.
There's more flow coming through there though right now than there
Same
was.
flow as pre-floodplain,
It's same-
post-floodplain.
same
So this
flow.
area was platted and there was actually floodplain easement that was taken over it.
Okay,
I would submit that the water is managed through this area. That's the improvement, is it's managed through this area. We can't evaporate water, so we managed it, directed it, controlled it. That's the improvement. We can't eliminate it.
yeah.
And that's kind of the gap from my perspective and the expectation.
Do we have pre-improvement water flows and post-improvement water flows?
Yep, that's how, it goes through the
Okay.
watershed. That's some of the data that they've requested. It goes through the watershed. It's gone through the Wetland Conservation Act regulators. All those agencies, we did multiple meetings with them. They've all signed off on it.
Okay.
So all the appropriate entities from a standard project have been met.
I understand that, I think that we're really good about, like, looking at what warrants specific criteria for when we're doing different projects, but I also feel like sometimes you need to look at, like, really what is best for this specific area. And so, like, when I look at that area, I think that there probably should be some sort of guardrail there, especially if I had children crossing that culvert, because it is wider and it's bigger. And I know you said it's a private drive, but if it's something that was discussed at the beginning, and then that's one piece that didn't happen,
So that was not discussed at the
The
beginning.
guardrail is
That was
not?
a discussion when Councilmember Nichols was on site, and
Okay.
we said that we'd research it. And then one of the biggest concerns that was raised was the public safety.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to narrow the road, and I don't think they wouldn't want a fire truck to be able to get to those houses on the other side of that culvert because we've
Mm-hmm.
installed this. And that was a concern.
One of the concerns.
One of the many concerns. And then the other one is they didn't choose when this was at the same height to have a guardrail then. And they had younger children, many of them then. And so this has been there since they've moved in some of the folks. And they've never had a guardrail there before, unless, correct me if I'm wrong, did you have a guardrail there before?
We didn't, but we didn't have a huge culvert like that.
It was the same height.
the road,
was the
well,
same
but the
height.
road could be the same height, but the way the slope goes down could be different from what it is now. It could be steeper now than what it was before. So like if someone were driving and happened to go off the edge, it could possibly roll your car from the height that it looks like to me, just looking at the pictures.
It was not significant. The elevation between the road surface
Okay.
and the ditch was not significantly changed. I couldn't tell you today if it's not significantly changed, because part of the other concern here is that we didn't grade out into the creek. So about 20 feet, 50 feet down from the ditch was where we couldn't permit, that's one of the other concerns that they have. So we literally tied into that same elevation from a drainage
Right.
standpoint. So the road elevation and the culvert bottom elevation did not significantly change.
Which I get that, but like when you have a sharper edge now, when it's more defined,
And the road width didn't change, so I would argue, I have to vet that out, but in my understanding of the project, it did not significantly change. What changed was one small culvert to 3 parallel culverts to allow for less height So less flooding scenarios. So if under the same, it's really hard to replicate an exact same storm, but if you could replicate an exact same storm for duration intensity, if you could literally do that, which is impossible, in theory, the water would draw down faster. It would be, instead of a waist high, it could be, 12 inches
Okay.
lower. So it's
This
super
is
hard.
the culvert on the south side.
So what I'm
That's
hearing is the
deep.
length of the culvert, as you're driving, the length at which you're going to have the drop-off is bigger now, but the drop-off is the same vertical size. Is that a?
I know the road height and the bottom of the culvert didn't significantly change, so I couldn't speak to the side slope. That side slope is per engineering standards. I'm sure we have a survey on it. I don't know if the original one was per engineering standards because it was a private road, but I know that this meets engineering standards for a side slope of that height.
And it was not part of the original discussion that came up for the first time when we were on site discussing closing this out.
I just want you to know until you live it, that you're exactly right. It was a 12-inch pipe that was flush with the grass, now we've got rocks and sharp edges, and more length.
Mark, did you?
This is just one of the reasons I'm just requesting that you not give M&I their money back as a way to resolve the issues with the neighbors.
Mr. Tobin, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think I understood you to say that it's the opinion of the city that M&I has completed all of its contractual obligations. Do I understand you correctly?
Yes, and we've had legal review with that too, because as we continue to press them, the city's position is not, we can't keep asking them for things that we don't have the authority to ask them for. And so the city's not in a great position here with the demands being laid on it because we have no authority to request any further change.
So in other words, we don't have the authority to withhold this, or to withhold these funds from M&I, correct?
I think that would be an accurate statement, having
Yeah,
completed the work.
engineering staff recommendation that they met their obligations.
Okay, and is that also the opinion of Mr. Thames?
I believe he would take the engineering recommendation.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for Mr. Thames, who
Okay.
could be here this evening.
But did he review this, or did he have some
We've
input on
discussed
this?
it.
We discussed it, but like I stepped back earlier, historically, the policy is administratively, you're relying on the city engineer and the
Oh, that's a
team
great
to
point.
Okay.
reduce it. Once it's to the bottom, then the city council does it, but this type of project in our policy would be administratively released without, we typically wouldn't even bring it back to council.
So to that point, I'm routinely, on behalf of the city, releasing the letters of credit because it's an administrative procedure. Out of the spirit of transparency, we brought this as a staff report because we wanted to make sure that people were aware that it happened. But we didn't actually have an obligation to put this on the agenda.
Well, since it doesn't sound like we have the authority to withhold these funds, I would make a motion to release those funds back to M&I.
Do a motion, do we have a second?
Should we do the motion to approve the agenda item? That sounded slightly different.
Is there a distinction between?
That would be my recommendation, is to item 7A as recommended.
I think the recommendation was basically that we're administratively releasing it, so it's more of an update.
Okay.
So I think it's the similar.
Approved per staff recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So friendly amendment to that, okay, so that's the motion, do we have a second on that?
I'll second, but I would like
Okay.
one more discussion.
Discussion, go ahead.
What is gonna come out of the data information that is being requested by Ms. Lyman Goodhue?
The
Everything
same
that-
information that was generally public and presented through all the reports, it's basic copies of everything. We'll pull anything that's compliant with our data request. It's all public information. In my opinion, it's not gonna change the recommendation of staff.
All of that information is driven this conclusion.
Yeah.
And it went into the development agreements that were developed.
Yeah, and I understand, I live out on Bechtold and such, and when we got the big rain, it was 7 days for my pastures to dry up to the point where I could finally even walk in them after 3.5, 4 feet underwater. So if the timing is a couple of days, it sounds like it's an event that continuously happens. The only thing that sticks in my mind is when the comment is made, the mitigation pond, I assume is what she was talking about, wasn't even full.
Yeah.
Is there
I'm
a
questioning that
elevation change there that should have been fuller before it overflowed onto their properties, anything like that, Kevin, or everything is to spec?
As-bills have been verified. We've cross-checked different flood stages to see if the modeling's right. I can't replicate that. I mean, that's a
Yeah,
opinion.
no, I know,
can't replicate
I know.
what that was to check that specific comment. But we've been looking at this and we believe it's
For a long
functioning as
time.
designed.
Yeah,
We've been monitoring it. We believe, a couple times we were out there, it's drawn down, by 4 o'clock, it's been almost.
When
I mean,
we've
it's
had
low
multiple
flow
rain events, I've grabbed
situations.
Kevin and said, let's go check on this to see what's going on with it.
We
So-
don't have any.
So we've tried to do our due diligence in order to make sure that we were paying attention to what's happening.
We've
So the-
done everything we would normally do to check.
Actually,
To
above
make
and
sure,
beyond.
yeah, to make sure that this meets the standards.
Yeah.
We know the landowner's position, but we have an obligation to tell you when something's contractually done and we
Yeah.
Yep.
are in a, that's why we want to bring it forward. Usually it wouldn't get to this point.
Is there any evidence that you've provided that the pond was not filling?
Yes, I sent pictures a couple months ago, back in June, pictures and videos.
Was that before our meeting? Is that the,
That would have been in June, that would have been after our meeting, I believe.
okay.
That would have to be framed.
I believe it
So-
was after too.
Okay. Kevin, I have a quick question. So the purpose of the holding pond isn't to hold the water there, right? It's supposed to fill up and then drain, and is that what's draining into the creek where the culvert runs by their property?
So the purpose of stormwater ponds and development, there are a couple purposes. One's water quality, but the one related to flooding, like flood high volume events, is really to hold the water back and make sure, so the rules are all based on rate. So the water always drained this corridor. It was actually more spread out, it's a little more centralized and controlled in a ditch now. But you look, when a development comes in, the watershed rules in the law basically say you can't increase rate at the property line. So if 5 CFS was going there pre-development and pre-conditions, the ponds have to hold it back so it's released at 5 CFS or less.
Okay.
And that's what they're designed to.
in normal conditions.
At 2-year events, 10-year events, and 100-year events. So they're like, if you look at those reports, it's like low flow conditions at like a standard rainfall condition in 100-year would be, once a summer, but sometimes we get 3 of those a summer. So
Yep.
it's hard to predict the volume, and intensities all matter, but those are the standards set for every development. And that's the rules that we can hold them to. So we believe that this meets those conditions that were permitted.
Another question, do those, I'm not sure what the right term is, the way that the pond is set up now, is there ever erosion so the outflow gets stronger? And do we test for that to make sure that that's not happening? Or how do you, like for escrow, I'm thinking, if something like that were to happen, who's responsible for that breach of too much overflow going into that creek then?
Well, so like if we have a really big event, there's always a pond overflow, right? So there has to be relief if it's like a more than a designed event, right? So in some storms, if you get 2.5 inches in 30 minutes, that's
Right.
going to exceed the design capacity that's required by the regulator. So in that case, the pond would overtop and control the EOF, and it would basically bypass and get relief from the floodplain. So if there's erosion at those structures, it's part of whoever maintains those structures. In this case, it would be ultimately HOA at Bellwether. So if we had an erosion issue,
Rush Creek.
Rush Creek, thank you. So if there was an erosion issue of some huge thing, if the landowners notified us, we'd go say, oh yes, this is their responsibility, we'd notify the HOA to get it fixed if it was like
Okay.
a biblical event or something like that.
And if it's not fixed, we would fix it and then,
Yes, in our new developments, if it's not fixed, in theory, correct me if I'm wrong, we could do the work, there's a process, we could do the work and charge them for it essentially.
Right.
And how we set up our stormwater management agreements with the new development.
thank you.
Yes, there is that. Anything else?
So if there was an empty pond, is that maybe that overflow pond you were talking about, Kevin, that maybe wasn't filled because the event wasn't big enough?
I can't speak to that comment in that instance. it would surprise me that there would be a pond that was empty in a high water event. But I'm not, it's like, that's where if like you're seeing that in action, call us in the storm and we can get eyes out there and look at it. And if there's a problem, we can approach the HOA and address it. But I can't speak to that specific example. It's not replicatable.
So there will be future recourse if there are issues where the system isn't
So
functioning?
if that happens again, and the property owners are seeing an issue where they're taking a lot of water and the pond is dry or the bench is seen and you're not seeing it higher, you should contact the city. We'll go out there and look at it. If there's a problem, then it would be the developer now, and it would ultimately be the HOA. And again, the city would have recourse if they didn't want to do something to be able to address it. And that's always kind of an ongoing maintenance condition that we have to react to over time.
Okay.
We don't believe that, we've been out there after these events, we don't believe that to be the case here, but,
That hasn't been our observation.
yeah, so we, like I said, if there's a question about what's happening during a storm, contact us and we'll do everything we can to be out there and observe and explain what's going on, so that we're standing there side by side. It's just too hard to replicate afterwards on a video of what's happening, so.
That was on a Sunday,
Yeah, we actually have on-call
Yeah.
components now where they can come out and help, so if you're experiencing something that you think is off, I can make sure you have the on-call number and we can have someone go out there and help document the situation or do what we need to double check it. But again, when we've been able to get out there, it's, we believe it's functioning properly.
I think that'd be good to make sure she has that information, and that there's a potential, actionable path you can take if there's future issues here that seemingly would, if there were those issues, would have more teeth to it than what we have with the developer per the agreement here. Because, we can kind of debate some of if it should have these feature or not, but I don't know that the development agreement has any teeth to it for us to.
The HOA, we've got into perpetuity authorities if things are not operating the way that they're supposed to, like to the point that you made, if erosion occurs and things start to happen, we have procedures in place that will allow us to do something.
And I just want to be clear, that's for the infrastructure within Rush Creek
Within
Reserve.
Rush Creek Reserve.
So that
Yeah.
main outlet where it leaves Rush Creek Reserve and transitions, that would be covered, but the ditch and then under the private road is not part of the HOA, so I just want to be clear with that. So
Yeah.
if there was an issue with the holding ponds or something, an outcome of the holding ponds within the development, that's what we can go back to the HOA on.
And I do want to bring that point up that Kevin's saying, that in our other developments, we have not had other developers do as much off-site improvement to the neighbors to this degree. And so they've worked hard to try and make this happen. 300 and something, almost $400,000 invested in other people's property to try and deal with the fact that they recognize that this is impacting them. And so these improvements in other cities, they might have been borne by the existing property owners. That is not the way that this has gone through. So then the developer has gone to significant effort to try and make it work.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask one more question?
Yep. Let me get the motion.
Yep. Wondering if there is a possibility, because it seems like her request and this item on our agenda is sort of crossing. And it would have been nice to have waited until she got her data request, until we presented this report, I think. And that would maybe give her at least some information that she was looking for before we actually moved forward. So I'm going to be voting no on this, because I think we should allow the homeowner a chance to see that report, even if it's been public, to have it compiled all together over 7 years and be able to look at it all together might give them a different perspective of what actually has been done on that property.
So one thing that I would say in that, I just want to acknowledge that it puts the city in a very bad position legally, because to Kevin's point, in terms of authority, this is not our normal procedure. We're just doing this out of the spirit of transparency in trying to go. I know I personally spent a lot of time on site, and at the heart of this is a disagreement on what M&I is responsible for. And the development agreement is the authority on what M&I is responsible for. And so what we have before us is they've met their obligations per the development agreement, and that development agreement was from all of these historical documents. But that's the authoritative document in terms of the city's partnership agreement with the developer. And so if we don't do this, I just want to acknowledge that council's aware that this could have repercussions for the city.
Can I add one more clarification just to make, for clarity purposes? So her data request is more than one document, and it's very technical. So I would suspect there would be a period of review time. I don't know what we'd want to give him for review time, but I suspect it could be extended because it's very technical in nature. So the risk of delaying 3, 4, 6 months to a year of pulling someone's money that's the risk, I think. As long as it's not one document to review, it's very technical. And so I suspect that there'll be an ask of review time. And that's fair, they can review all the public data there is, but we also have to comply with the contract. And so I just want to clarify that it's probably an extensive review. Based on the conversations.
I understand that. I think there's a balance between trying to decide what is best for the people that live in our community against what the builders are doing that impact their property. And I think it's wonderful that the developer went ahead and tried to correct some of those issues. But I just still feel strongly that the fact that she's put in a data request on those items, for us to come through with this now to try to finalize everything before they've had a chance to review that complete document, just doesn't look great, in my opinion, because it looks like we're trying to pass something through before she gets the data request, is how I feel. That's why I think it's important for us to consider our residents and what's been presented.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What do you see as an alternative outcome? Because contractually we have an obligation. So if she disagrees with the outcome, what is the city's play?
I guess I wouldn't know that until she's had a chance to review.
No, even if she disagrees and she says they're not fulfilling their responsibility, and your expert staff have told you that they have, and the contractor's saying that you have, and we have a resident that disagrees, what is the city's play as we're taking on this potential litigation? Because that's where it's going to end up.
Yeah.
How do you see that playing out? Because that's, you're accepting risk and you're allowed to do that as decision makers. But it's important for us as staff to understand your direction on how we deal with the risk that you're taking, because we're going to have to make subsequent decisions with the developer, and that could have repercussions. And so I just want to understand what the desire would be, or what the vision for the outcome would be. Like, I don't see how we would get a different decision. We still have an obligation to release the letter.
Yeah, I don't think, based on the time we spent on site, we talked about the guardrail, that was something we wanted to research and get more information for that would be feasible and required in that location. Turns out that was not. If that had been required, it might have been arguable that M&I should do that as part of the culvert project. But
And they did do some of the other requests.
Yeah, and that's good. So I
And
think
they did put the flags on there, which,
The delineators.
yeah, delineators.
I think the other big ask that the landowners had was to clear out parts of the ditch that were farther to the north. I don't think it's arguable at this point that M&I would be on the hook for that. But we have, for the past 4 or 5 years, had in the offing the idea of a stormwater access fee to generate funding so the city could take on projects of that nature. I feel like the best play, not only for these residents, but for residents in general, is to try to expedite that so that when we have situations where there's 50-year-old infrastructure that's grown in and filled in with silt, there's a mechanism to deal with that without trying to pull it out of the general fund. Is that something that we could try to expedite, given where we last touched it?
Could I address one comment you made, and then I'll let him. So one of those, could you bring this up again? So they did do improvements and clear out areas that were allowed, that the watershed would permit.
Yeah, there's areas
And so they did do work. The degree of the work that they were allowed to do was determined by the watershed, not by the developer. And so to that point, the city would have a similar restraint as the watershed holds the authority on what you can and can't do. The property owner to the west got a cease and desist many years ago for trying to self-perform the work. And he was told that by the watershed, no, you cannot do this. And so the work that is being desired isn't permitted. That's one of the challenges. The work that was allowed was executed by M&I. So I just wanted to bring that point. As far as the stormwater fee.
Yeah, I think we kind of paused that. There's a lot of pieces to that. We could, if that's a priority, we can re-engage the conversation. In my opinion, in this specific case, I don't know if it would apply, but there are other cases where it might apply, and there might be benefit. I think if that's a conversation we want to have, it's kind of a different conversation than this, because this is really a private, in my opinion, it's a private property issue. But there are other scenarios where a stormwater fee may or may not be effective, and we would need to evaluate that across the board. So if that's a priority, we can re-engage that conversation, but I don't think it would solve this specific problem.
I think we have had, as one of our priorities, identifying alternative sources of revenue. And I think this would be a good example that we could point to at the end of the year if we were able to put something in place by then. That yes, we've taken action, we realize we don't want to be raising the general levy to deal with specific problems that we can get funded through the development process. So I'd really like to see that happen if that's possible. It may not be suitable for this specific application, but I think generally across the city there will be cases where it'll be helpful to have $500,000 banked to be able to do projects that come up as a consequence of development or as a consequence of deterioration.
Is there a consensus to direct staff to reinvigorate that? There hasn't been any activity for probably 1.5 to 2 years on the stormwater fee.
I'd be open to having the conversation about it and kind of reviewing where we left off and seeing.
I can confidently say it will not be in place by January 1st, but we could engage some conversation by January 1st. It's a long, drawn out process.
Okay.
So staff will take that back and bring an update in the future.
Thank you.
Michelle?
Oh, yeah, okay, so just I have a question, back to the contract, 'cause we're specifically talking about our obligation per the contract. How many days do we have once the project is completed and staff has stamped their approval and said, yes, you fulfilled your obligation? What is the contract state? How many days before the escrow is returned?
It's a letter of credit surety, so it's a letter of credit, not actual cash, just as a placeholder and make sure this work's done. There's no timeline other than when the work's accepted, it should be returned.
So in light of other developments, we returned it within days, like that's.
We initiate the
once
process. Sometimes it takes a little bit of work on the developer's end. They have to bank it, we have to review it and release it, so it probably takes 30 days. We initiate the actions when we accept it. It depends on how fast they are, but I would say 30 to 45 days.
And this has been a discussion candidly since I arrived 1 year and 9 months ago.
And I think the risk is if M&I decides, okay, we want it, it's been enough, that they would probably prevail if they were to challenge that and try to force it.
And back to that point, they have said, all right, we have done what we need to do, and they've been showing up and having conversations with us, but the work was completed before I started here.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, if I can correct
One thing, and then we gotta get to, we have one councilmember who's been waiting a while.
As far as the watershed goes, Corcoran is the local government authority for issuing permits. So that Corcoran could actually issue a permit and M&I or somebody could dig through to Rush Creek.
I don't believe that's accurate.
Can you repeat that question again?
That Corcoran is, city of Corcoran is the local
For
government.
the LGU.
Yep.
Or LGU.
Yep, or the LGU for the Wetland Conservation Act. Yep.
Yeah, for permits, it's not the watershed.
Yes, the watershed, so the Wetland Conservation Act is complicated. There's representatives of the watershed, the city, Bowser, which is a state agency, Board of Water and Soil Resources. Sometimes the Army Corps plays into that, depending on the jurisdiction. Sometimes the DNR plays into that. It's a highly regulated corridor. It's not as simple as us saying we issue a permit. It's a collective panel that makes a recommendation. If the city goes against, if the local LGU goes against the recommendation, they're at risk of the state agency coming down on them for making a poor decision. So usually it's we quarterback that process, but we don't have unilateral control over it. If we did, we'd get subject to liability. So if we went against the TEP recommendation, we'd be at risk of being liable for being non-compliant with the Wetland Conservation Act.
I guess my last thought is just I want
if we can make sure that Karen gets that
Yep,
other
data-
information regardless.
Yep, data request, on-call number, and then we'll bring back a stormwater fee.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Update and clear direction.
Kevin, I heard your comments about this data practice request, and I've also heard comments that this has been going on for 5 years. Is there anything that would be released in response to this data practice request that hasn't been available for the past 5 years? I mean, what's new? Is there some smoking gun in this data practice request? Like, what's new? If a data practice request was made a year ago, would it be any different than what you are preparing?
It would be all, I mean, it would be the most, like, in the last year, it would be just correspondences with the residents about updates or meetings or whatever, so.
Okay.
I don't have the date in front of me, so I can't conclusively say that, but it would be
A lot of the same
a lot of public data. There could be
It's
some
just
emails back and forth that would be talking about, the final decision would be all public data, so there could be some exchanges. All the data isn't pulled together yet, so I couldn't,
Sure.
guarantee something, but any of the data that's not public would have all been, like, tied into that final public decision, if that makes sense.
Okay, so, but basically, nothing substantive would come out of this new request that wasn't available years earlier.
I don't believe so, but I haven't gone
Okay.
through it all, I don't suspect any of that. It would be like supplemental data to that decision, if that makes sense.
It would all be stuff that's out there before in previous packets, so that
Yep, just making a point. Yep,
Yep.
I get that.
Gotcha.
And Mr. Tobin, one last thing. I asked you this before, and I think I understood your response. Is it the opinion of the city that we do not have the authority to withhold these funds from M&I?
It's the city's staff's opinion that they fulfilled their obligations, and we have a responsibility to release the funds.
Thank you. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I have a motion pending.
Call the motion. Okay, so we will call it, all those, just to clarify, it was to approve staff to,
Recommendation.
yeah, to approve,
Right, to release the
Release funds,
funds. Right.
as presented in the packet. Okay, all those,
Is it funds or the credit letter?
It's a letter of credit.
It's a letter of credit.
So it's not funds,
Yeah,
it's a
it's-
letter of credit.
It's a
Letter of credit. Fair enough.
to proceed as the staff recommendation
The staff
was.
recommended.
Well, clear on what the motion is. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. And if you would make sure that number and everything gets to Karen, and if future issues come up, definitely let us know. The whole conversation about with the HOA, if anything's coming from that side, definitely let us know, and there might be teeth there if problems arise in the future. Hopefully not, but. Thanks for coming in. Good to see you. Okay. On to 7B, which is Amberley Trail Easement Vacation.
Mr. Mayor, I have just a couple slides. This is a public hearing for vacation of a trail easement in Amberley Second Edition. If you go to the next slide, it is in the northwest corner of that Amberley subdivision, Lot 4, Block 5. The trail was modified from the original approvals. It will still remain as constructed, and it's constructed as a 10-foot trail and a 20-foot easement. But moving the easement itself would center it over the trail and provide more flexibility for construction of the house in this location, and the city engineer has no objection. The next slide shows the new easement location, shifting it slightly from the previous location in that northwest corner of the lot. And with that, we do recommend approval of Resolution 2589, approving the easement vacation for Amberley Second Edition.
Any questions from staff or council?
I was just gonna make a motion.
We have to do
It's
the
a
public
public
hearing first.
Oh, sorry.
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Does anyone want to speak on the public hearing? Nope, okay.
Mr. Mayor, just real quick, if I can you pull a map back up again?
Should we do this, should we close the public hearing
Yes.
for this?
Yeah, before the discussion.
Can I get a motion to close? the
Sounds good.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Dean, continue.
How far are we moving it?
It's in that, it's feet. I'm gonna look at in the packet, we have the existing easement, so let me just take a look here. Kevin's racing through on his side too. And do you know exactly, Chad? It's a very minor change.
We could look at the existing.
What sort of happened is where you see that it's a sweeping curve there, when it used to come up the west side, it sort of flattened out at that corner, so it was more of
Like
an
a double
angle.
curve.
Yeah,
So as you come in, it was a curve, as you go, transition from north to east, and this makes it one
Swoop.
longer
Smooth.
curve.
A Nike swoop.
All right,
So it actually, it's the preferred alignment. I think we just had a disconnect between what was recorded as the easement and what was on the plan.
got it. Nope, you answered my question. Thank you.
Any other questions? Michelle, did you wanna?
I was gonna make a motion
Go for
to
it.
approve.
Okay,
I'll second that.
motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. On to, excuse me, unfinished business, 8A, which is preliminary proposed tax levy collectible in 2026.
So, Mr. Mayor, we've had some budget discussions, and after this decision, we have scheduled departmental budget discussions, get into the details. So this sets the preliminary not to exceed levy, and then per our practice, over the next couple months, we'll get into the details, identify any potential savings opportunities, get guidance from council in order to arrive on our Truth and Taxation meeting on December 11th.
And just for the record, just kind of same process as we did last year, where we really kind of went into the preliminary approval kind of with everything included, hadn't really sharpened the pencils, and then as we get, I think it's a better process because we get more time to get actual numbers and more data from Hennepin County and actual expenses as we get closer to a full year. And then we'll dive into the departments like Jay mentioned in a couple work sessions and even a couple meetings if we need them, and can get that number to where we need it to be by December
11th.
11th. So, yeah, just wanted to reiterate that for the record. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Do we need a motion?
Yep.
Yep.
If I could get a motion, I'll entertain a motion. I almost read the wrong one. That would not have made sense. Motion to approve Resolution 2025-90, adopting the preliminary proposed tax levy collectible in 2026.
So move.
So, second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is that all?
Aye.
Okay. Sometimes I'm bad at hearing everyone. Glad I got you. Perfect. Okay, 5-0. On to new business. We have item, let's see here.
Unfinished business still.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I wasn't reading my own notes.
Item 8B.
8B, which is the outdoor recreation grant from the DNR and JCB.
Yes, I'd be happy to provide an update. So back in the spring, we asked for permission to apply for the outdoor recreation grant program through the DNR. On July 1st, we received notice that we were not
Recording
going to be getting
stopped.
the grant. Bummer. And then they came back to us on Monday and said, hey, we had some extra funds allocated to the program, and you guys were next on the list, so we're really excited to award you the money. The downfall is we had already started the project, and thus those items that have already made it thus far with the playground are not eligible for reimbursement nor the match, which is unfortunate. So it doesn't look like at this point we would be getting the full $350,000 even though we were approved for it, because it does have to be very specific to the playground. However, staff and the grant administrators are working to try and figure out how we can most efficiently utilize the funds and get the most out of it. We're looking at including things like site amenities and features, benches, bike racks, things of that nature. Hopefully even some landscaping that's around the playground. Go ahead.
What about that third bay that we didn't build out? That was gonna be maybe a zip line?
At this point, it would be very, very difficult just because we've already had the plans to update the ball field that's along that edge as well. So the work's been done and graded and everything, so it might cost more in the long run to backtrack like that. I could look into it if that's council's preference, but I think given what I've seen that would be eligible and working with Sarah from the grant office, it looks like somewhere between 175,000 to 200 of the 350,000, which is still exciting because we didn't think we would get this money. But a bummer that we can't get the full amount, but I'm trying to get as much as we
Potential
can.
change orders that we could look at? No?
No, anything that's been paid or delivered at this point before what will likely be either January or February when we can start tapping into the funds. Because we have to go through the process with, similar to the HUD funds, we have to go through the process of SHPO and tribal consultation, but since we've already done that work, we can use that and move forward and hopefully fast track it a little bit more.
Okay.
So,
Did we raise the issue with them and all that, had they given it to us at the time they gave everyone
Yes.
else, that we would have been fine?
Yep, we met with them, Natalie and I met with them on Monday, or on Tuesday, and unfortunately, it's just the way the cookie crumbles was kind of what I was told.
I
But what they
doubt
said
it.
was, say thank you that you're getting something that was, you were told in July that, no, you're not getting anything.
I mean, to be fair, it's a
Could
lot
you
of money
provide
that
me
we
with
weren't
a-
expecting,
Could you
so I was
provide me
happy.
with a contact there?
I'm sorry?
Could you provide me with a contact? Not publicly, but after the meeting.
Yes.
Thank you. That would be great.
Otherwise, we can just get a lot of bike racks.
Yeah,
The Oprah Winfrey of bike racks.
yeah.
Could you look into that lighted trail, that alternate we didn't award? Would that
Oh,
qualify?
that's a
Ooh.
good find.
Because we were prepping for it, we just didn't include it.
Yeah, because I think we did conduits.
Yeah,
Looking at that.
yeah, they're good.
Good
Well, what
job,
about
Kevin.
Kevin!
Kevin!
Could that qualify for the pickleball courts?
No.
No, it's outside of the
No.
scope of the playground.
Okay.
But there are other funding sources that we're looking at that might
Okay.
tackle into that. That might be coming up in a future meeting here.
Tetherball poles?
It has to specifically
there.
be the playground. Like, even expanding beyond to the landscaping areas, I think might get a little bit of pushback, but I like to push the envelope.
Yeah, and I think we're all in favor of push it
Maximize
as much as you
Yep.
can.
Ultimately, my request was if staff can work with the DNR folks to try and get the most amount. I don't want to set an amount that we're shooting for.
We
just
don't need a
because I wanna
motion,
try
do
and-
you? Just need consensus?
Just guidance.
Y'all good with
Agreed.
that?
Oh, I thought we were doing
Keep going after it, how's that?
Yeah,
that. Super duper.
Thank you.
get as much as you can.
Thank you.
And get the information to Mayor McGee that he requested.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, on to 9A, with new business, which is Elm Creek Watershed Commissioner resignation and publish vacancy, which is a motion that I had drafted a potential motion that I almost read for the budget, which would have been awkward. Jay, I'll turn it over to you.
If you recall, when Ken Gunther had notified us a year and a half ago that he was going to be leaving, we started our search for watershed commissioner replacement. Tom Anderson agreed to stay on as our alternate, and he thought that he was staying on for another 6-ish months to 9 months. And now, a year and 10 months later, he's still continuing to faithfully serve, and we have an opportunity to potentially allow him to step down. And so he's asked to be able to step down as of December 31st, which gives us time to publish and recruit. We currently have 3 applicants on hand of people who applied to be a commissioner previously, and we believe that they would be interested in being the alternate. So what we're asking for is to publish, to recruit a replacement for Mr. Anderson. And for the 2 weeks, we have to have it out there. It's like 15 days, I forget the exact date. And then come back at a future council meeting with council to be able to recruit those. One caveat to that is we're asking that we actually recruit for 2 alternates, and we differentiate between them as first alternate and second alternate, because when Kevin was talking with the watershed, they were explicit that the city has 1 vote in the representative. And so we wanted to make sure that we understand a secession on who has the authority to speak for the city, just in case, as might happen from time to time, people disagree on what should happen with watershed-related issues. Just referencing an earlier conversation. And so making sure that we have some clarification on, it would be the primary, then the first
Who was the one that was
alternate.
appointed recently?
Yep, that's been appointed, and then we would appoint the first alternate and then a second alternate. The other advantage is it also gives us a succession plan, so that if any of those people should step down, we have another opportunity for someone to rise up, and we can recruit someone else.
Yeah. I think that aspect of it is great, going from, it went like about a year plus, where we didn't really have a candidate, to maybe we have 3 to 4 interested people right now. I think that's a good problem to have, so.
So one thing that wasn't included in this that I think would be helpful, Mr. Mayor, to clarify is who the committee would be
Yeah,
for interviewing the commissioner.
If we continued on, I think it'd be me and Dean, right? 'Cause you and,
It was us for the last one.
yeah, and we went, go this way, I believe, so, be me and Dean.
Okay.
I'm in.
Sounds good.
So the request from staff is to consider a motion, and then as it's written out there, accept the resignation of Commissioner Anderson effective December 31st, declare the vacancy, which allows us to publish it, and then direct staff on this support for multiple alternate commissioners, authorizing staff to publish the vacancy and schedule appointed discussions.
I will make a motion to that effect.
Second.
Any discussion?
Huge thank you to Tom Anderson for
And if we
everything
could-
he's done
If we
for our
could get
city.
a resolution of, I think we did one when he stepped down from other duties, but probably an updated one of recognizing him, because he has done.
We'll plan that on being on the agenda on December 11th.
Thank you.
And the pickleball courts after.
One just a procedural comment, just for knowledge. Every year annually, we reappoint watershed commissioners.
Yes.
It's different than other commissions, so just every year in January, we'll reappoint. So just a clarity point, if that wasn't already known.
Although
And that's actually an important detail for why the timing of this is, so that we didn't appoint them and then have to do it again in January. So I actually asked Mr. Anderson to stay on to December 31st, so that we could find the replacements and then have the good transition for January 1st.
And the bench, I think, will also offer some flexibility to people too, where if they can't make a meeting, it's maybe not the end of the world, because the next guy could step in and do that, and building a bench is always good. So we did have that motion and second out there. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Perfect. And I will say that Tom, as we've all recognized, has done a ton for the city. There's 2 times where I've been in City Hall here with Tom, I think one time with Jay, and one time with former Councilor Bodema, where I wasn't paying attention to who was around me, and someone said, well, Tom, I just want to thank you for all that you've done for the city. And I didn't realize Tom Anderson was in the same room, so I'm kind of awkward, like, oh, thank you, that's very kind. And John goes, not you. And then I realized Tom was there, and I was like, oh. But if I didn't say something, and it was just us in there, that would have been very awkward.
Aw.
We're talking about you.
Somebody set a trap for you there.
It was really random too. I was like, oh, that's so kind, thank you. All right, on to, let's see here, staff reports. Do we have anything from staff?
The only thing, Mr. Mayor, is just a reminder to council that I will be departing on Saturday. I'll be out of the country, and I'm not taking my phone this time, and so it was on consent agenda. Nalisha will be the acting city administrator. So our regularly scheduled meetings, if you would like to meet with Nalisha, please work with her on what works with your schedule. And I will be back on October 6th, and we'll see you on October 9th.
Sounds good. Council reports. I don't think I have too much. We kind of had a lot going on in August and September, and now it's a little bit quieter. There was St. Thomas groundbreaking that Gene and I were at.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That was great. Meeting the bishop, and the excitement throughout that church is
Super
unbelievable
excited. Yeah.
to do what they're about to do. So that was number 1. Number 2, Oktoberfest down at
Yes.
Heidi's.
That was great too.
A great business owner in our community doing what she's done. or did, the kids, everybody was engaged and such, so
My
that
son-
was neat to.
My son tried to walk out the door with a pumpkin, so fortunately we caught that.
All right.
And
And then
I'm sure Heidi would have been very kind about it, it was only this big, but still.
just an
Don't want to
update
start out with shoplifting.
about what's going on this weekend is Breast Fest at the Shoe
Oh,
Light.
yeah.
Thank you.
If no one knows, this is its 15th year.
It's really cool.
Over 15 years, they've raised $559,000 and, excuse me, $559,820, if I remember what it is.
Amazing.
A ton of auction items, some great music, a stage. I believe it starts at 10 a.m. and goes till 6.
On what day was that?
Saturday. Parking will be at St. Thomas Church for those, and then you'd be shuttled over. But it's a great place, great event, great old barn, some beautiful old trees, and
One of the nicest
by what I'm
guys.
understanding, a number of vendors coming in and stuff, all for a great cause. And the Shulaks are some very good people here in
Yes,
our
they
town.
are.
So
Well said.
they are looking for volunteers. I'm in.
If I can make it, I have to check my
If
schedule,
you
but
can
I can make it, I will be
They
there.
would appreciate anything.
Yeah,
Just
I'd love to be there.
let you all
To
know.
see Jim, it's been.
Kinda cool.
Thanks for
Otherwise,
bringing it
that's
up.
all I had.
Anyone else?
I had a question. I don't know if Ryan will be able to answer this on the spot. The speed trailer that was set up on Gleason, are you seeing any evidence of speeding?
I'll have our CSO he'll download stuff next Monday. I think he put it out on Monday or Tuesday this week. It was on Stieg Road, so
Okay.
he'll take it out next, or he'll pull it next week.
I think the complaints that I heard were actually from traffic coming from the west
Okay.
rather than from the east, coming over that hill. And there was conversation that some of the landscaping in the island has kind of grown up and blocked people's view of cross traffic. So I'd be interested in seeing if there should be any changes made to make that a little bit safer.
The landscaping has been a topic we've been discussing.
Piggybacking off of that, there's a couple areas that I know that's a similar issue, along Gleason, and I don't know where that gets into because of the kind of weird, it's still part Lennar in places and part HOA and part, eventually it just becomes a regular development, and I don't think we'd have an issue with a regular development changing a minor landscaping thing.
There's an update forthcoming, so as part of some
Okay.
of that updates, we continue to review that, so there's an update forthcoming on that specific
Perfect.
topic.
So yeah,
When we have more
there's a-
information, we'll
Those
share.
big bushes kind of have grown up and have blocked been a few close calls. I know I've had a few.
They're beautiful, and I'm not sure if they're
No, they
supposed
look
to be
really
that
nice,
tall
but-
as a feature, like to drive people to drive slower, but not everybody
Yeah,
does.
the problem is it blocks until they're pretty much
Yeah.
right there. And you have to, I've seen. some
If we
close
could
calls.
dwarf them or cut them back,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That'd be a good update. Appreciate it. Anything else? If not, only thing with city council schedule, I think
Can you hit that?
Jay mentioned this beforehand. We have the meeting, so we have work sessions on the 9th, 23rd, and 13th coming up. That's
So the 9th is an addition, and this, BKV and Kraus Anderson wanted to get council feedback. It was part of their application as one of the work sessions with council on the facility condition assessment, and then the first phase on where they're at for the space needs analysis. Want to get that helpful feedback so that when they come on November 13th, they've responded and gotten your feedback so that they don't move in a direction that might be contrary to what council wants to see happen. And so I think this is a good plan to make sure that we're aligning strategically. And then the pivot on the 25th, that was previously scheduled for November 24th, and then we recognized that staff won't be here on the 24th. We have an obligation, and that was flushed out, and I was like, oops, that was my bad, so I apologize.
Sounds like we have at least three for that, if not four. And then, yeah, as long as we have three for the October 9th work session, should be good there.
That's it.
And then,
5:30? 5:30?
yeah, that was my question for all of the work.
Yeah,
sessions.
5:30 for all the future work sessions.
Perfect. And then, yeah, the rest of the year's meetings, October 9th, October 23rd, November 13th, November 25th, and then the only December meeting is, I believe, December 11th. So have more meetings for you. And if there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
make a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.